This is Twit.
Let's go on with what's going on surrounding all of the surveillance or anti-surveillance legislation. There's a lot of discussion in Washington about whether the Patriot Act and Section 215 needs to be reformed or refunded. Just recently, the senators backed an NSA bill to renew and extend this funding that needs to be in place in order for the Patriot Act to keep functioning. Is that somewhat hypocritical, Declan, when also there's a ton of discussion about we need to have more transparency and reforming legislation?
Well, I don't really trust some of the senators working on the so-called reform legislation. I mean, one of them is Senator Patrick Leahy, who was the primary author of CALEA, the 1994 wiretapping law, that's actually caused some of the problems, surveillance-related problems we're finding ourselves in now, by establishing the principle that all future technology should be easily surveilled by the government. He introduced a version of what would become the Patriot Act a year before the September 2001 attacks. He was the author of the Protect IP Act and so on. I mean, he's done good things as well, but this is not the hero or the hero of privacy that some groups might try to paint him to be. I'd rather see someone like Rand Paul take the lead, or Ron Wyden on the Democratic side on some of the legislation. One other thing on Patrick Leahy, I wrote a piece for CNET in June or July saying that, well, the legislation that he introduced to try to fix national security letters would actually make it more difficult for companies to challenge national security letters. So what I'm trying to get at, and this is a long way to do it, is the details matter. I mean, just because legislation is touted as we're going to fix the NSA, we're going to fix domestic surveillance, if you look at the fine print, it tends not to do that. I trust the courts a lot more than I trust Congress on this.
Sherwin, Public Knowledge is a signatory to a letter that is urging some transparency reform. Can you fill us in on both your own take and your organization's take?
Well, sure. I mean, I think right now there's basically three different bills that people are talking about. There's one that's coming out of the Intelligence Committee, one coming out of the Leahy bill coming out of Judiciary, and then there's another one that's more specifically on transparency. So just to get that one out of the way, the transparency bill is really it's really focusing on the sort of people who are getting requests for user information, and it's just giving them, I would think, a very modest ask, saying, hey, if an ISP gets, a certain number of requests, they can report sort of within a range each year how many requests they've been getting from the government, so that people know, how many times records are being requested from the company. So something, fairly discreet, and I would think, a very reasonable thing, despite whatever lawmakers might feel on any side of the debate, to get through. I think I'm probably a little less skeptical than Declan on the Leahy bill. I think, no bill is going to be perfect, but this one at least is saying that we don't want bulk spying to continue, which is a lot more than I can say for the bill coming out of the Intel Committee, which basically says, oh, no, the programs that we've been doing, those are fine. And in fact, we'll clarify the law to make sure that we can continue doing those.
And that's the Feinstein bill?
That's right.
And it's called, let's see, the FISA Improvements Act. Who wouldn't want to improve FISA?
And I think
but apparently it's not such an improvement.
No, I think everybody's going to, given that there's a controversy, want to say, oh yeah, there's some things that we need to improve, and then be somewhat vague as to the improvements they're actually suggesting. So it is important to pay attention to that language. I think one of the reasons that the Leahy bill can be an improvement is it does at least sort of make sure that the way that the NSA has been interpreting the existing law is not going to work.
All right. Declan, what do you think of this Feinstein bill?
Well, I would agree with Public Knowledge that it's deeply flawed, or if not worse. Feinstein is my senator out here in California, and she's not really well loved in Silicon Valley. Apparently, she gets the votes from Southern California, not Northern. But because I'm not in Washington, I can maybe be a bit more. I don't have to worry about whether a senator is going to return my phone calls or not. And I don't think the I mean, the Leahy bill may be better, but this is. But you want something to be not just better. I mean, it's like I'm going to get shot in the heart versus shot in the knee. Well, I guess I'll take getting shot in the knee. I'd rather have something to be objectively very good, because this is a once in a generation opportunity caused by Edward Snowden to really fix some of the things that the NSA has been doing. What I'm actually more concerned about than Section 2 and 5 of the Patriot Act, which gave us the Verizon phone metadata, or the so-called PRISM program, which arose out of 702, I'm actually more concerned about the bulk fiber surveillance, because that can be much more abused. I mean, if Google or Yahoo or AOL, they get 1,000 requests for 2,000 accounts per year. I mean, that doesn't really alarm me. I mean, these numbers seem more or less reasonable. There are some terrorists out there, some bad guys. But if the NSA is vacuuming up everything by listening to all the fiber, that is where you can have a tremendous amount of abuses and a challenge to our democratic system of governance.